Hey there. So I got a couple of questions on Twitter and on YouTube. I'm at Matt Mirafish on Twitter if you want to talk to me there. And people were asking about using Strata for 3D. Now, I want to start with a disclaimer by saying Strata is not purpose-built for 3D, and there's a lot of objectively better 3D level generation assets on the asset store that are much more sophisticated. However, if you see Strata and you love the workflow and you think this is the workflow that I want for my 3D game, or for some reason it really makes sense for you, it is possible, and there is some kind of minimal support for it. So I wanted to make that clear. And the other thing about it is that I think using Strata for 3D is a nice example of how Strata really just works with data, and then what you choose to do with that data is sort of up to you. So the kind of purpose-built function is to generate 2D Tilemap data, but you could actually use it to generate other types of data like 3D data. So I'm going to show a quick example of how that's possible. So we can see that we have a tile map in the scene. This is the tile map that we're using for editing, for authoring. And this is currently using the tile set that I made for the mini rogue demo. So there is not a supported 3D authoring workflow. So you would author tile maps and then spawn to 3D. If we enter play mode, we can see the tile map floating there in space. We can see the spawned 3D data. Now what this is doing is, we can go fly around in our scene. So this is spawning cubes, right? So it's taking the map data and spawning, I believe this is 6 cubes high. And so if we look, we can see that this is actually just made up of individual spawned cubes, right? So this is like a very naive approach in the sense that there's no combining of meshes, there's no optimization happening at all. It just instantiates, a couple thousand cubes. Now, in my experience on my machine, that actually works fine in play mode. You can walk around, and because they're all the same thing and the same material, the draw calls get batched, and it's actually reasonably fast. But of course, you could do something more sophisticated. But as you can see, we are spawning this sort of Strata-style grid-based world in 3D, in this case, using cubes. So the way that works is we have the board library here. And in the board library, we have what's called an instantiation technique. Now, this is something I haven't talked about very much because we've just been doing 2D, which is the default, right? But actually, there is a slot here for what do you do with the data once you've generated your level, right? So you've generated your level basically in ASCII, right? The rooms and the caves and whatever it is. And now it's time to turn it into Unity objects, right? And normally we do that as a tile map, but it is possible to do it in this case, this is our cube world instantiation technique. The only variable here is how many layers high it's going to be along the y-axis. In this case, it's 6. We could go ahead and change it to be 1, and then we'll see that really what we're doing is just kind of lofting a 2D map, right? So we generate the 2D map, and then we loft it up along the y-axis. You could also, if you wanted to reduce the number of cubes, you could just have cubes that are just scaled up, right? So they're kind of columns, and then just generate that as well. And so what we can see if we look at the example library here is that we're just actually using the same data from the mini rogue demo, and we're just actually ignoring a lot of it, the exits and the grass and everything. But what I've done is I've added a prefab to the wall, which is our cube, right? Our purple cube, this thing here, super simple. There's also a floor. I added a floor, just a green floor plane. And you could put a ceiling on as well if you wanted to. And so it's taking that cube and then using the instantiation technique to spawn it, right? So super simple, but a nice kind of proof of concept for the fact that you can just take the Strata data and do whatever you want. You could draw tile maps, you could place 3D objects, etc. So if you have any questions about this, leave me a comment here on YouTube. I'm happy to answer there. And if you've already bought Strata and you'd like to get a copy of this source, I think I will make it public since people are asking. I'll add it to the Strata distribution. But if you've already bought it, downloaded, feel free to just email me at support@mirrorfishmedia.com, and I'm happy to send you over the source. It's like one script. So yeah, thanks very much for watching. Thanks for your support with the tool. It's been really fun releasing it so far and seeing people pick up on it. And I'm looking forward to extending it and doing some more with it.